Welcome to Fantasy Sports Island. And what an off season. Johnny Ballgame is here.
What's up, my peeps?
Johnny, the NFL doesn't sleep, does it? There is no such thing as an off season in the NFL.
There isn't, and I got to tell you, I love it. I love it. This is the best off season I've seen in forever. So
we live in a different world than we did about 3 weeks ago in fantasy. I mean, it's crazy. I'm the Fantasy Reaper, and tonight we got a good show for you. What we're going to do tonight is go over all the fantasy relevant moves for you. We're going to talk about all of it, get you all caught up. So if that sounds good to you, make sure you hit that like button. You probably want to subscribe. Maybe throw a comment out there. Tell us what you want to see on the shows in the future, etc. By the way, Johnny, when they hit that like button, what does it do for us?
It tells the people, and it gets our statistics up there, so that YouTube says these people are the shit. And so then we get more viewers. Everybody gets better, and you know what? Sometime we might actually get paid for doing this.
What? But really, if you like the content, you definitely want to hit the like button because it does help the YouTube algorithm to get our videos out there, and we appreciate it.
Algorithm. That was the word I was looking for.
Algorithm. And you know what? We do actually put a lot of work into these shows, so
we do. Absolutely.
We appreciate your support.
News and notes around the NFL.
All right, let's move on to the show. We'll start with some news and notes around the NFL. And John, here we go. We'll start with the first bomb that came down our way. Tom Brady, who had retired, decided to unretire, came back to the Bucs. In the meantime, slightly like a week later, Bruce Arians decides to retire and move up to a front office job, leaving Todd Bowles to be the head coach. Now, unwrapping all of that, what's first your opinion of Brady coming back?
So Brady gave us the football equivalent of we're on a break, right? Like that's what happened, right? You broke up, but turns out you still miss him a little bit. So you go, all right, I'm going to go back to him. That's what happened. He went there. He got in the car line at carpool time, had to go pick up the kids. He's like, this shit sucks. So then he goes back and he goes to play football. He's like, I'd rather have people beat me up all the time rather than have to go live a regular normal life. That's what happened.
Yeah, I think I agree. And there's been a lot of rumors out there that he didn't get along with Arians. And once he found out, through the grapevine that Arians was going to probably retire, he decided to come back. I don't know if I buy that. I
don't know if I buy it either.
Yeah. He might have thought, oh boy, the Bucs have a lot of free agents, and I don't know if this team's going to be the same. Maybe I should retire and just see what happens. And then he started to see that they re-signed Godwin, and then there was talk of Fournette coming back. The band's getting back together, so maybe he was like, all right, I'm coming back.
Yeah, maybe other people were like, dude, if you go back, we'll go back. You know how your teammates are always going to be like, man, just one more. That's all you don't want to be home. Right? It's
kind of like us with Royce. We're like, come on, Royce, get back on the show. Come on, Royce. Eventually, he's going to say, all right, he's going to unretire and come back on the show.
Yeah. We'll re-sign Tony if Royce comes back. That's what we're saying.
By the way, Tony will be back for the next show. He's just busy tonight, but he'll be back. Don't you worry. All right, let's go on to the next move that we saw come down in the NFL after Brady's return. Russell Wilson got traded to the Denver Broncos for quarterback Drew Lock, tight end Noah Fant, defensive lineman Shelby Harris, 2 first-rounders and 2 second-rounders, and a 5th-round pick. That is a massive haul for Wilson. Yeah. First of all, does Denver improve here? What do we think of Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton in fantasy now, John?
Well, Denver gets a lot better, right? They get a quarterback who can actually throw the ball to his own team as opposed to the other team. And I like both those receivers now. I think he's going to do a fantastic job with them. This really screams a little bit to me like when Denver got Peyton Manning. Everybody thought Peyton was a little bit past his prime, and maybe they haven't thought quite that much with Wilson, but a little bit, right? He had an injury toward the end of the season. It's clearly affected his play. Same thing happened with Peyton Manning when he was with the Colts, and they both go to the Broncos, both with great defenses, good coaching now. We got a new coach there, solid run game, great wide receivers. You got to go. Holy shit, who's the favorite in the AFC West now with this?
Yeah, Denver had to make the move because they weren't going to win anything with Drew Lock. And if they could draft a quarterback, but that takes time to develop. You want a guy that you can win now with. And Denver has a good defense. They have good receivers. They have a great running back. This is the time to go all in on Russell Wilson, and that's what they did. And we'll see how it works out. I personally am not a huge fan of Russell Wilson. He's solid. I don't know if he's quite that guy that's going to get him to the championship level, especially with all the moves that were made in this offseason. But, we'll find out, right, John?
Don't underestimate playing with a chip on your shoulder.
Yes.
Great. He's not that old yet, right? He's still, what's he? Is he 30? I can't remember how old.
Yeah, 30-ish.
Yeah, he's 30. But he's not that old. He could still move around a lot. Thumb's going to be healed up. Going to play now with a chip on his shoulder, with some talent, with a good offensive line and a great running back, a running game he hasn't had in a long time. I'm telling you, don't underestimate this move.
All right, next on the list is Aaron Rodgers. He restructures his contract and gets his fat payday, 3 years, $150 million, $50 million a year, which is a massive deal. The problem is, because of this, the Packers didn't have quite as much money as they wanted to re-sign Davante Adams to a longer extension. And so they tried to franchise tag him. And Davante Adams said, hell no, I'm not playing on the franchise tag. He said, trade me. And they subsequently traded him to the Raiders. And John, what do you think? Did Aaron Rodgers cut off his nose despite his face being so greedy?
I feel like he did. I really do. I feel like he didn't worry at all about his guys. He just worried about him. And now his team's going to suffer. It's not going to be a very good team this year. I don't think they're going to win the NFC North.
Yeah, I don't see that. I mean, we'll see what they do. There's still guys out there like DK Metcalf. Maybe they could trade for. Maybe they'll draft a few wide receivers. But, I mean, Davante Adams is like the top wide receiver in football, or close second or third. I mean, you don't just replace a guy like that.
Yeah.
The offense is going to stutter or sputter because of that. Yeah. So now I want to talk about Davante Adams on the Raiders. He goes to Derek Carr, his former teammate in college. How do you think this plays out? Is he going to lose fantasy value a little bit because of the quarterback change, or does he just play like he's always had?
I think he'll lose a little bit. I don't think he's going to lose it as much as some people think. Carr's not Rodgers. I don't think any of us are going to mistake Carr for Rodgers. But Carr's got a really strong arm. He can hit the deep ball. Davante specializes in the deep ball. They've got a connection from college where they broke all kinds of records together. I don't think the fall off is going to be as much as other people think it is.
Yeah, I still think Davante Adams is a top 5 wide receiver. Now, I wouldn't draft him in the end of the first or beginning of the second anymore. Probably wait till the end of the second, beginning of the third. But he's still a very good receiver. Yeah. And now for Derek Carr, I think he maybe vaults into the top 10 at quarterbacks. He's got weapons.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, you go, God, AFC West is loaded.
By the way, Davante Adams' contract was $141 million over 5 years. Average salary of $28.25 million. And at the time, that made him the highest wide receiver ever. At the time, for like a week.
Yeah.
All right, so after the Davante Adams debacle, Amari Cooper was traded to the Cleveland Browns for a 2022 fifth-round pick, and then they swapped 2022 sixth-round picks in the deal. At the time, it just seemed like kind of a desperate move for Cleveland. Amari Cooper kind of replacing Landry. We didn't think much of it, but then they get Deshaun Watson, who was traded to the Browns for first-round picks in 2022, 23, and 24, as well as a 2023 third-round pick and a 2024 fourth-rounder. And then Watson signed the first fully guaranteed deal for a quarterback of $230 million. So let's just talk about this first of all. Fantasy purposes, Deshaun Watson to Cleveland, all of a sudden Amari Cooper's like fantasy relevant again. I like the move as far as fantasy-wise. So let's talk about the other side of it. Do you like this Watson deal? What's your gut? What's your feelings about this deal?
Yeah, I don't like it at all. Listen, there's been a lot of players in the NFL who have done things that they shouldn't. They're on the commissioner's list because they've done things that they shouldn't have done, or at least are alleged to do and are still being investigated for. Deshaun Watson, while the grand jury refused to indict him, they didn't say he was innocent. They just felt like there wasn't enough information to indict him. The NFL themselves have admitted they're still investigating him, and now there's continued charges being brought up on him. 22 different women are accusing him of sexual misconduct. If the NFL is going to say, we value everybody, we value diversity, we value women, we put out the pink jerseys, and they did all this in Women's History Month, by the way, which I thought was weird and crazy, actually. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. They could have kept him on the commissioner's non-exempt list, still paid him at his old contract. Then they would have, finished the investigation. Then if they find him not guilty, then you complete the trade. But all the NFL teams had to approve this trade, and all of them went, yep, that's what we should do. We should reward this guy, make him the highest paid quarterback ever, guarantee it, and then structure the contract in a way that he's not even hurt if he gets suspended.
Yeah, that was my point. They set up the contract so he makes $1 million this year, and then the bulk of the money goes into effect next year. So essentially, if he does get suspended this year for any amount of time, it's not going to hurt him in the pocketbook very much, not as much as it would if he was making $50 million.
Yeah.
And so I think this was a manipulation of the cap and of the way the NFL is set up and structured. And I think the NFL should manipulate it right back on him and wait this year and hear all the facts before you render your decision and then suspend him for the entire 2023 season when he's making $50 million.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be great?
Do you think that fine? It would be amazing. And don't you think that fine bullet point there about the $1 million in the first year and then the rest was the way Cleveland got him? Because Cleveland was out of the running. And then all of a sudden, magically, they make the trade. I think that point and that point alone was the deciding factor.
That's a great point. I didn't think of it like that, but that could have been the one that got him back on board with Cleveland. Hey, what if we structure your contract in such a way that you won't get hurt? Yeah, it's brilliant if that's
we'll
what
make you
went
the
down.
highest paid, and you won't have to forfeit much of it.
Exactly.
So, you got to give it to the GM from a business standpoint. Again, from an ethical standpoint, and just alienating half of your fan base, literally half of your fan base. It's just. I just don't get it.
No, they've been talking to Baker Mayfield. Yeah, Baker Mayfield's over there, complaining like, what the heck? And then they tell Baker, we're looking for an adult at quarterback, basically telling him they don't want him to be their quarterback anymore. So what do? They go out and pick up the most controversial quarterback in NFL history who has 22 counts of sexual assault against him. Guilty, innocent, whatever. I'm not here to judge the man. Maybe he's innocent. I don't know. But my God, we're going to give the first fully guaranteed deal and the highest paid quarterback ever to this guy when there's Patrick Mahomes and guys that keep their nose clean and are good as well. I don't get it.
Man, I'm with you. And again, it's not like I'm saying I am with you. Innocent until proven guilty. That's fine. Mm-hmm. It just wasn't a move that needed to happen. Put him on the exempt list, pay him his regular salary that he's been making, and then if he's proven innocent, great. Then we make the trade and it's done. But make the trade pending the results of the actual findings of this investigation and the civil proceedings. It just didn't need to happen. It was senseless.
Agreed. And extremely risky on Cleveland's side. Extremely risky. They gave up their future for this guy. They're putting a lot of faith in a guy that's, let a lot of people down, to put it lightly. All right, let's move on from Deshaun Watson and talk about Carson Wentz, who was traded to the Washington Commanders. I hate that word, by the way. Can they just be the Commandos?
It's terrible.
He was traded for a few middle-round picks. First of all, what are your thoughts on Carson Wentz as a fantasy footballer?
I think I can sum up my thoughts with Carson Wentz in sound effect. Meh. I just don't care. I don't. He's not a good quarterback. He's mediocre at best. There's people who should probably be starting over him that are backups on other teams. He's average now. He's never been the same since he got injured, and we just need to make that. I don't understand why we went. Yep, we're Washington. We need that. Yeah.
Yeah, Johnny, I think Carson Wentz is a mediocre quarterback, and we'll just leave it at that.
Yep.
So going back to the Deshaun Watson deal, once that happened, it had a lot of dominoes of, going throughout the league. So the Falcons and the Saints were trying to get Watson. Once they didn't, they found out they're not going to get him. Atlanta moved on, and they decided to trade Matt Ryan to the Colts for a third-round pick. New Orleans also pivoted and brought back Jameis Winston to a 2-year deal. And they also got Andy Dalton on a 1-year deal. So for Atlanta, I think it would have been a bad decision if Deshaun Watson went to Atlanta. They have no weaponry whatsoever. It's probably good that he didn't go there. But what do you think about the Colts getting Matt Ryan?
I actually kind of like that move. Matt Ryan might have a little bit in the tank still. He did all right last year with a team that was just deplete of any sort of weapon, and he still threw for 35 for almost 4,000 yards. He's still a good quarterback, and he's going to a team with talent. And I think they're going to be a contender in that division.
He's a savvy veteran, and you plug him in on a good team like the Colts who have a running game and a defense. Yeah. And he's proven he can win a championship. I mean, he had he had Tom Brady and the Patriots on the ropes, almost won a chip. So I think they're a contender. I do. I like this move.
He hasn't proven he can win a championship.
Yeah.
He's proven he can get there.
You can get a big lead in a championship game.
That's right. That's exactly right.
All right.
He can't play defense, though, unfortunately for him.
And what do we think about Winston and Andy Dalton on the Saints?
I think Winston's fine there. He was having a pretty good year. I think he'll be one more year in the system. They're not going to change it with Bruce Allen becoming the head coach. It was basically his system he was running, and he's running Sean Payton's system. So I think Winston will be fine if he stays healthy and doesn't revert back to his old Tampa Bay ways of, throwing interceptions. He does need to go deep a little bit more. I think he's got a few weapons on that team. Michael Thomas comes back though. Now you got Winston throwing to Michael Thomas. That's not bad. If Alvin Kamara doesn't go to jail, it's not a bad team. They're going to be in contention. Yeah,
their entire future basically rests on what happens to Alvin Kamara. Because if they lose Kamara for any amount of time, that hurts not only Winston, but the entire offense.
Yeah, it's a bad day. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So Devontae Adams got his, massive deal, which was the highest paid in the NFL at the time. And Tyreek Hill was sitting back saying, ooh, now I want to be the highest paid receiver. And he went to the Chiefs and said, it's time to extend me and give me a fat contract. And the Chiefs says, we can't do it. Look for a trade. We give you permission. And so he did. And several teams were in on it, but the Dolphins come in and land Tyreek Hill, and it's a bunch of draft picks. Of course, they gave up a lot to get him, but they partnered Tyreek up with Jalen Waddle, and not only that, but they go out and get running backs Raheem Mostert and Chase Edmonds, and wide receiver Cedric Wilson from Dallas. And all of a sudden, Miami is stacked with speed all over the place.
And they tagged Gesicki, who I think is one of the better tight ends in that.
And they kept Gesicki. But, man, this team reminds me of the Chiefs 3 or 4 years ago, just stacking up all the speed. And Tyreek Hill's going to open up the field for all these guys. And all the quarterback has to do is just take a 3-step drop and get it out of his hand and let these guys run, right? I mean, Tua's going to have a good year.
I think he is going to have a good year. It reminds me of when he was at Alabama and he's got all those wide receivers. He's just pitch and catch to all these guys who are getting open constantly. I think he's going to have a nice year. I really do. I think that team, I will say this, though. Tua doesn't have a good year. Tua's done as a starter in the NFL.
This is his test season. Like, we're going to find out what he's made out of.
Yeah, you can't say, I didn't have any weapons at this point.
Right. No more excuses. Right.
Yeah, you got weapons and a coach who believes in you.
Now, on the flippy, let's talk about the Chiefs. I personally, I'm confused at what they're doing here. The Chiefs were an absolute contender. They were 1 play or 2 plays away from a Super Bowl this year. They're always in the hunt, and now they've traded away their best player, their second best player maybe. And he affects the offense so many ways just by running down the field so fast. It opens up the middle of the field for Kelsey, for the other guys, and now he's not there. I think this is going to affect the Chiefs' offense in a negative way, and I don't think they're a contender. What do you think, John?
I'm with you. Again, that AFC West is so tough. I actually think they're last place in the AFC West. And I didn't think I'd say that about the Chiefs for a long time, but they're my last place team in the AFC West.
I don't know if I'm ready to anoint them the last place team, but they're definitely not going to easily win the division. It's over.
Who's worse in that division?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the Raiders.
Chargers?
Yeah.
Raiders, Broncos.
Broncos all improved while they got worse.
The Chiefs have only gotten worse, and they weren't that great last year. I know they had a good winning record, and they got to the playoffs and game with Buffalo and all that stuff. Their defense was not good last year for most of the year, and now they've just lost Tyrann Mathieu. They've lost their main rusher on the defense.
Charvarius Ward.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's a team that actually got worse instead of better in a time when so many teams got better.
Now they brought in Juju. Juju's more of a possession receiver.
Boo-hoo.
Yeah, boo-hoo. Juju will be Juju and catch, a bunch of balls for, a low amount of yards per catch, and he'll be himself. And Juju will probably be good. Now, as far as Patrick Mahomes' fantasy, he's no longer the number one quarterback, right?
No, he's not even the number 2 or 3 quarterback.
I agree. Yeah, he drops down to maybe bottom top 5, maybe even lower than that.
Shoot, dude. You can make an argument for 6 to 7 quarterbacks before him.
Yes, you can.
Weapons alone.
All right. So once the Dolphins got Tyreek Hill, Devontae Parker was kind of expendable. He doesn't really fit anymore. So the Dolphins were looking to trade him. The Patriots stepped up and said, hey, we'll take him. And they gave him a 5th round pick in this year's draft. So Devontae Parker, he goes to play with Mac Jones. He will be the lead dog there. He is a very talented receiver, but he's injury prone. Does he have success in New England?
If he stays healthy, this might be one of the sneakiest big moves of the offseason. Because he is talented, and he is going to a coach who knows how to use talent. They're not good at drafting receivers, but when they get them from other teams, they know how to use them.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. And I think if he could stay healthy for a full year, top 10 wide receiver for sure.
He definitely has top 10 capability. I don't know if he's going to be top 10 in that offense, though. They like to run.
A lot of play action, a lot of running. Listen, this is going to be better. He'll be better his second year.
Yeah, I agree. I just don't know if there's enough passing volume there to accommodate, the other receivers and Hunter Henry and the other tight end that had a bad year but was injured most of the year. So they have a lot of weapons there, and they're going to spread it out. You know how New England does it, and they like to pound the ball. I don't know if there's enough for a top 10.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if they let Mac loose a little bit. You're right. If they don't let him loose, for sure not going to be a top 10. But you're right. He's got top 10 talent if he can stay healthy. I'll give you that.
All right, and then the last guy I wanted to talk about in the news was Robert Woods. He got traded from the Rams to the Titans for a 2023 6th-round pick. I felt like he was expendable because they went out and got Allen Robinson. So what do we think of Robert Woods on the Titans, though? Does he help A.J. Brown on the other side? Does he help Tannehill? Is he better than Julio Jones?
I'll answer the last question first. Yep. Julio Jones wasn't good as a Titan. He wasn't even good as last year as a Falcon. He was kind of a non-event. So I think he might end up signing with the Colts, quite frankly, and going back with his boy, Matt Ryan. But let's get back around here. I think Bobby Trees helps this team. I think you get King Henry back. King James. Yeah, you get King James back. You get King Henry back, and now you're running games back. Now it opens up. You got AJ on the other side. Now you've got Bobby Trees who can run slot. He can run outside. He can run the whole tree. He's got speed still. He's still pretty young. I like this move. I like it.
I was thinking about the Titans. What was the one thing they struggled with the last few seasons? They didn't have a second receiver. They had Julio Jones, who they tried to make a second receiver, but he didn't pan out. And the other guys were terrible. Let's be honest. They're all wide receiver 5s or 6s. They're awful. And now they have a legit wide receiver 2.
Legit. Who was a wide receiver 1 not that long ago.
And he is a possession receiver. He catches the ball. And that's what Tannehill needs. To move the chains, you hit Robert Woods. You go deep, or you run that play action cross over the middle. That's when you go to Jones.
Think about AJ. You think about AJ and Bobby Trees running crosses together. Like, who do you stay with? I love the move. I love the move. I think Tennessee is going to win that division, with Indianapolis being real close to second place.
All right, John. So we discussed all the trades and the unretirements and all that crap. Let's talk about actual signings. Players that either re-signed with their teams or made a move to a new team. And these are only fantasy relevant guys. I don't want to talk about everyone that re-signed or defensive players. I don't want to talk about all that crap. Let's talk about the guys that we might draft or use in fantasy football. So let's start at quarterback. Marcus Mariota to the Falcons to replace Matt Ryan. What do you think, John? Is he a fantasy quarterback?
I don't think so. He still doesn't have weapons. I mean, who's he throwing to? He wasn't that good at throwing when he was in Tennessee when he had weapons.
Yeah, I think Marcus Mariota goes undrafted in fantasy.
Me too.
How about Mitch Trubisky as he goes to Pittsburgh? I know you like Mitch.
This move. I like this move. Now, listen, I'm a Bears fan, and you would think I'd be like, oh, Mitch sucks. Mitch wasn't the issue. Coaching was the issue. Yeah. Talent around him was the issue. Mitch actually took the team to the playoffs. I just want to say that again. Mitch took the Bears to the playoffs. Mitch went to Buffalo, sat for a season, played behind an unbelievably great quarterback, played for a coach who knows how to coach quarterbacks. Mitch is going to go into Pittsburgh. Mitch is going to earn that starting job, and Mitch is not going to look back.
And Mitch has pretty good receivers in Pittsburgh. Yeah. Yes. Deontay Johnson and Claypool. Let's see what we get. And that tight end. That rookie tight end.
And a good running back. He's got Najee too.
That's right. I like it. We'll see. This Mitch.
Is like Tua. I will draft Mitch, by the way.
And this is just like Tua, by the way, John. Like this is his year to prove it.
100%. If he doesn't win it and take it from here, there's just he'll be a backup for the rest of his life.
All right. Cleveland signed Jacoby Brissett to back up Watson, which means what the hell happens to Baker Mayfield? Is Baker Mayfield going to be in the NFL?
What does it say to you when Atlanta Falcons have Marcus Mariota slated as their starting quarterback and Baker Mayfield still doesn't have a team?
He really doesn't. He's actually on the Browns, but he's their third string quarterback.
Yeah.
They know they're going to either release him or trade him.
They're not keeping him.
They're not
keeping
him.
A team. The Seahawks have Drew Lock, who's just chased out of Denver. And Baker Mayfield's still on the Browns as third string. What's it say? You got to love his grittiness and whatever, but he's a pain in the ass. His wife's a pain in the ass. He's not good enough to overcome that with his play. He's mediocre. He had the same offensive coordinator for the first time in his career and got worse. So you can't blame it on that.
Yeah, but John, he's a great actor.
Oh, well, you know what? He's got to move now. So we'll see.
Come on to Hollywood. Be the
Where's
backup.
That commercial where he's putting the house up for sale? Where's that commercial?
Yeah, let's be a backup to Stafford.
Deshaun Watson do an open house and be showing Deshaun Watson around. What he's got to do. That's a commercial I would like to see.
That's right. All right, backup quarterbacks. Kyle Allen signed with Houston. Tyrod Taylor went to the Giants. Teddy Bridgewater to the Dolphins to back up Tua. These guys we're not really going to see in fantasy unless there's injuries. But let's say Tua went down with injury. Teddy Bridgewater steps in with some weapons. Could be fantasy relevant.
Check down Teddy. He's got Gesicki gets an immediate boost if Teddy comes to be the running backs get a boost.
True. And Mostert.
Yeah, and who takes a hit? Tyreek Hill. Although at least show he could take those small passes and make them into something. So they might still have an okay year with touchdown Teddy or check down Teddy. Maybe he becomes touchdown Teddy. I don't know. I doubt it.
Yeah, we'll worry about that when Tua fails or gets hurt.
Yeah.
All right, running backs. Duke Johnson. So the Bills, they went after J.D. McKissick, and they thought they had a deal. He agreed to a deal. And then J.D. McKissick changed his mind and went back to the Commanders. And so Buffalo went scrambling for that type of player. They wanted a third down back, and they chose Duke Johnson. What do you think of Duke Johnson in in Buffalo?
First of all, let me say this before I get to Duke Johnson. Every Gibson owner in Washington went through a roller coaster of emotions for 2 days, right? Like the highs of McKissick's gone. Maybe we finally catch a pass. Maybe we're finally in on third down. All right, I got Gibson. Some people traded for Gibson going, McKissick's gone. I got him. And then he comes back. What a shit day for anybody who was a Gibson owner or a prospective owner. Duke did pretty good on the Dolphins, surprisingly, when he was picked up. He was their best running back, which was weird. I like the signing for Buffalo, but I think it messes with who Moss and Singletary was already a weird thing. So now you throw Duke Johnson into it, and it's still weird. So it does nothing for that backfield other than keep it muddled.
Okay. Arizona re-signed James Conner. They lost Chase Edmonds. So it looks like Conner could be a real good top 10 running back. However, we know James Conner has a massive history of injuries, and he never stays healthy for a full season. So are you in on James Conner, or are you not in?
I will say this: when he does come back from injury, he's usually pretty good. The one season in Pittsburgh, he had some issues, but he's pretty good at recovery. I was impressed with him last year. I was all out on James Conner last year. There was no way I was going to draft him. I didn't want a piece of him. I thought he was going to be just meh. And he had a great game. Now, do I think he can – his season was fantastic, but it was mostly touchdown dependent. And I don't think he can replicate those touchdown numbers. So do I think he's a top 10 running back by the end of the year? Maybe right at 10, right? So because running backs are a little bit rough to judge in our league where it's passing. I think he'll get enough passes. So I like him. I like him. I don't love him, but I like him a lot.
Okay. All right. So let's move on. Atlanta Falcons re-signed Cordell Patterson, and they also signed Damian Williams. We don't really need to talk much about that. Carolina signed Deontay Foreman, maybe to back up Christian McCaffrey in case of injury. Ronald Jones signed a one-year deal worth up to $5 million with the Chiefs. What do you think about that, John?
I like Rojo with the Chiefs of all the things you just mentioned. Cordero had a great year last year, but he really faded down the year. Maybe Damian helps to balance some of that out, and they'll have a real running back, and they can use Cordero as the gadget guy that he probably should be and can be the most effective as. So we'll talk about that a little bit. I think Deontay being picked up for CMC is probably the best thing that could have happened for CMC because they can use him as sort of the pounded in their back if they need to go get the tough yards because Deontay does have a little bit of that in him.
Yes, he does.
I like Rojo with the Chiefs. I like Rojo. I don't think Hell Yeah was going to ever become the running back that they think he was going to. He also gets hurt a lot and doesn't recover from injury very well. I like Rojo there. I think he's interesting.
I feel like they wanted a more physical runner with Clyde Edwards-Helaire was kind of too small. Rojo's a big dude, and he's a physical runner, so maybe that'll work out.
And can catch the ball out of the backfield, which they need in that offense. So I like him.
All right, Houston did Houston things and signed mediocre players like Tare Ogunbowale and Royce Freeman, and we're just not even going to talk about that. The Raiders signed Brandon Bolden and Amir Abdullah, a couple of pass-catching backs to bolster their offense a little bit, and the Patriots re-signed James White, 2 years, $5 million. The Eagles also re-signed Boston Scott. The 49ers re-signed backups Jermichael Hasty and Jeff Wilson to one-year deals. Now let's talk about this next one. The Seahawks re-signed Rashad Penny. Now he came on like madman at the end of the year last year. He was dropping 180 yards and tutties. And I mean, does this continue, or do you think the loss of Russell Wilson really like hinders this offense and there won't be any holes for him?
Yes, it is the answer to that. I unless they get a quarterback that we don't know what the heck's going to happen yet, Drew Lock is not making anyone scared. So, of course, they're going to stack the box because Penny looked fantastic at the end of the year. Now, if they had a regular quarterback, I'd be all in on Penny. I think Penny started to be the guy they drafted in B last year, and he was fantastic down the stretch. And I think you could get more of that from him. This offense, as it is stacked up now, is not that. I mean, they're talking about trading Metcalf, for God's sake. That's out. So, no.
I agree. Rashad Penny, I would take him, maybe in the 5th. But anything higher than that is a little too risky for my blood. All right, the Bucks. So we heard kind of rumblings that Leonard Fournette was visiting with New England, like Bill Belichick was going to steal him from Tom Brady, right? Yeah. And then, real quick, the Tampa Bay re-signed Leonard Fournette. It was almost like a knee-jerk reaction. We better get Leonard, and they got him for a 3-year extension, $21 million. And they also re-signed Gio Bernard. So. Now, Lenny was a top 5 running back last year in fantasy football. What do we think of – because Rojo's gone now. What do we think of touchdown Lenny?
I think he is exactly the same running back this year as he was last year. Their line got a little bit the same. I mean, they lost one key player. They brought in another key player. I think they're fine. I like touchdown Lenny. I think Leonard Fournette's found a home. He's found a niche. He's found his role. Maybe you throw Gio out there for a few more catches, but touchdown Lenny caught a lot of balls last year. I like Lenny there.
Tom Brady trusts Leonard Fournette. That's why he's back.
Yeah.
And he peppers them with targets out of the backfield. Now Gio's there as well, and I think we're going to see a little more Gio than we did last year because he wasn't healthy, which could affect Leonard Fournette. But when it comes down to it, close games, Tom Brady wants Leonard Fournette back there blocking for him, and Leonard Fournette's going to get volume because of that. So I like him.
100%. Yep.
And then the last bit of news at running back, the Titans re-signed Dontrell Hilliard. A little like a scat back. It's kind of a thunder and lightning thing with Henry.
Yeah. So
when Henry needs a breather, Hilliard comes in. That'll be fine.
I like that change of pace back. I like that guy out of the backfield if they need him. So he had a pretty good year last year.
All right, let's go on to receivers. Now, let's start with the Bills, who've done a million things this offseason. Man, they've improved. They did lose Cole Beasley, but they replaced him with Jamison Crowder, which is, I think, a sneaky good pickup. Jamison Crowder, when healthy, is a talented dude. He's capable of catching 15 balls. We've seen it before. He's a great slot receiver in this offense. I think Josh Allen scored on this one. What do you think?
I think Josh Allen scored on it too. I think Emmanuel Sanders is probably going to retire. I don't think he's being re-signed by the team. He might. Maybe he'll be a late addition after training camp or something. But this is a really nice pickup. This is a great number 2. And obviously, you're going to talk about Diggs here in a minute. But, this is, like you said, this is a sneaky good signing right here.
Yeah, so they just re-signed Diggs earlier this morning, as a matter of fact, to a $102 million deal over 4 years. So they get to keep Diggs. Gabriel Davis came on late last year. He's probably their number 2. Their slot receiver now is Jamison Crowder. They also added a tight end, which we'll talk about a little bit later. They still have Dawson Knox. Josh Allen's got to be the number 1 quarterback off the board, right?
100%. There's no doubt in my mind.
We don't even need to argue.
No.
All right. The Bears signed wide receiver Byron Pringle from the Chiefs and Economius St. Brown, each on 1-year deals. I think these are a couple of nothing moves. Like, these are just lateral moves for these guys. Neither one are very talented. They're both like wide receiver 4s or 5s on their team. So I just don't see that being a big move for them.
Non-answer, non-event. They still need another wide receiver.
So the Cowboys, let's move on to them. They lost Amari Cooper, and they also lost Cedric Wilson. So they come back with James Washington from Pittsburgh, and they re-signed Michael Gallup to a 5-year, $62 million deal coming off that ACL injury. How do we feel about the Cowboy offense? Did they lose quite a bit with Amari Cooper and Cedric Wilson?
Yeah. I mean, those are 2 really good receivers. So, I think you get to see CeeDee Lamb maybe come out of his shell a little bit this year. I think he'll be who we thought he was going to be last year. 3rd-year receiver. I think he'll be the number 1 guy. And I actually really like his prospects this year, even though he kind of burned me last year. But I think they're going to take a step back. And I don't think they've addressed the running game to figure out who's actually should be leading that. I think they're still going to go in with Zeke as the lead runner, and I don't think that should be the case. So I don't like the Cowboys a lot for this year. Wow,
Johnny, what a difference a year makes. You were high on Zeke, you were high on Dak, you were high on the Cowboys, and now it's like we don't want anything to do with them.
I really like Dak. I just don't feel like they helped him.
They did not. No. They did not. And they had a good defense last year, and I think they're going to try to kind of be more like a conservative, like pound the ball, let the defense, keep you in games type of team, because they just lost too many weapons. I think
they've lost some weapons on the defense too, though. So
we'll see. But they got a young up and coming defense. They have a lot of good young players. So we'll see. All right. The Falcons got Auden Tate. The only reason I bring that up is because he was on your Bengals. Now he's a Falcon, and they had no other receivers. So why not? Auden Tate.
Why not? Let's give the kid a shot.
Yeah. The Lions signed
a kid who gets injured all the time, though.
Yeah. The Lions got wide receiver DJ Chark from the Jags, which is sneaky. I like this pickup.
I do too. This is definitely a sneaky good pickup.
It is a sneaky pickup, especially if they draft like a good quarterback, or maybe they trade for Baker Mayfield instead of Goff. I think this could be a really good pickup for them. And they also re-signed Josh Reynolds and Khalif Raymond. So
I like those. I like the wide receiver core there. If they had a regular quarterback, my God, how good would that team be?
And they have your favorite player still. I'm on rah rah rah.
Yeah, I may not like his brother on the Bears, but he's a stud. That guy's a stud.
He is. He truly is. He truly is.
Just going to get better this year. I almost like the Baker Mayfield thought of him going to the Lions because he fits that Dan Campbell mode of grittiness a little bit. I just don't know if he can get the ball to those receivers, but I know Goff can't. I mean, we know that. Yeah,
we know that. All right. Well, we already talked about Juju going to the Chiefs, so let's just go on to the next one. The Jaguars had a lot of cap space. Problem is, they don't know how to spend their money correctly. They went out and blew their money on Christian Kirk, 4 years, $72 million. Zay Jones, 3 years, $24 million. So they blew a combined $96 million on two guys that have never had 1,000 yards.
On two number 3 at best receivers.
Yes. I don't understand, John. Please help me to understand these moves.
I wish I could. That's the same brain trust that brought in Urban Meyer last year. So
and they let DJ Chark go.
Yeah.
They thought
he's
Christian
not better
Kirk,
than Christian Kirk.
Yeah, Christian Kirk and Zay Jones are better than DJ Chark. Come on.
It's insane to me.
It's insane.
It's absolutely insane.
The Raiders went out and stole Demarcus Robinson from the Chiefs just to add to their weaponry, and Matt Collins from the Dolphins. So they quietly have a couple nice little weapons to add with Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow and Waller. I mean, they have good weapons for Derek Carr.
Got Richardson running back. I mean, they got a team, dude.
They got a little team.
Do not sleep on the Raiders.
The Raiders. All right, Rams. We already talked about this, but they did get Allen Robinson. Do you think this is a good replacement for Woods?
Yeah, I do. I think Allen Robinson was obviously hurt last year and injured, but that guy is perennial 1,000-yard receiver. I think he'll return to form. I think he's going to help them. They'll be right in it again. Okay.
The Chargers re-signed Mike Williams. They had to do it.
Liked it.
Yep, like it.
Yeah.
The Jets re-signed Braxton Berrios, and the Eagles signed Zach Pascal. I think Berrios was a necessity after they lost Crowder. They really need that slot
receiver.
Yeah. And then he partners up with Elijah Moore, which the Jets.
I liked Elijah.
Jets beefed up their offensive line. They could be tough.
Yep.
All right. The Bucks re-signed Chris Godwin on a 3-year deal and Brashad Perryman on a 1-year deal. And they also stole Russell Gage from the Falcons on a 3-year deal. If Gronk comes back, Brady's got just as much as he did before. I mean, he's
I don't know if they need Gronk to come back. I mean, they've still got Howard on that team, don't they?
No. Howard went to the Bills. They still have. They have the big white guy. I always forget his.
Yeah, that guy. But not Becht. No, it's not Becht. Anyway, doesn't matter. They don't need Gronk. Gronk will be a nice addition. They can throw him in the middle or whatever, but that's a formidable wide receiver group. Those four people mentioned, it's pretty. Even Brashad Perryman showed he could play last year, right? We weren't quite sure about that guy. He's kind of on the pile.
I like the Russell Gage pickup. I think it was smart.
I like the Russell Gage pickup too.
It's sneaky good for Tom Brady, yeah. All right, the last receiver we'll talk about is DJ Moore. He signed a 3-year contract extension worth $62 million, and it includes $41 million in guarantees with the Panthers. They needed to do that. Now they just need to go draft a quarterback.
I was going to say, if only they had somebody to throw to him, it'd be great.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to some tight ends. We'll start with the Arizona Cardinals re-signed Zach Ertz. What do we think? Zach Ertz, you like it?
I like it. Yeah,
he was pretty solid with them last year.
Yeah, I picked him up late in the season. I ended up having a pretty good year with him.
And the Bills, here's the one about O.J. Howard. He went to the Bills on a 1-year deal, prove-it deal. I think he's a good secondary tight end to have. Just another weapon for Josh Allen.
Yeah, if Logan goes down, not Logan. Dawson Knox.
Dawson Knox.
Yeah, let's start that over again. So with Dawson Knox as their main tight end, OJ's a good backup to that guy. So I really like that.
Yeah, I think they're loaded. Let's giddy up. I want some Josh Allen.
Giddy up.
The Bengals replaced the tight end they lost. They lost Azoma.
Quick question for you before that. Quick question. If you have the number one pick, are you taking Josh Allen?
The number one overall pick?
Yep.
Now, granted, you folks that don't know, our league scores a lot for quarterbacks. So quarterbacks usually go in the top 3 or 4 will go in the first round or 2. So taking a quarterback number 1 is a little crazy, but not unheard of. I did take Peyton Manning back in the day when he set records at number 1. Would I take Josh Allen number 1 overall? No, I would not. I would take Jonathan Taylor. Would you?
No, I wouldn't. But I will say this: number 5.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would take him. I would take him after the top 3 or 4 running backs.
Yeah, I don't think there's 5 running backs I would take over him. Right?
I agree.
3 or 4, maybe.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
All right. So CJ Uzomah left the Bengals to the Jets. The Jets also got Tyler Conklin from the Vikings. So again, the Jets are loading up a little bit quietly.
Tight end.
Yeah. So, but the Bengals needed to replace Uzomah, so they went out and got Hayden Hurst. What do you think?
I think it's a pretty even trade, right? They don't need that tight end to be a major weapon, just an underneath weapon every now and then. They've got 3 unbelievable wide receivers, 3 number 1s, really. I mean, Tyler Boyd's technically a number 3,
2.
But he's a 2, right?
Yeah.
He's really good 2. So they got 2 1s and a 2 as their top 3 receivers.
Yeah.
I tend to do a lot, but Hurst is a good one to do it.
The Colts re-signed Mo Alley Cox, and it's only relevant because your handy plumber, Jack Doyle, retired. So maybe more targets for Mo Alley Cox. He's got a good quarterback.
Also, don't forget who's throwing to him.
Matt Ryan likes the tight end.
He made Gonzo a household name.
Yes, he did. All right.
Some other tight ends. I mean, he made Pitts a 1,000-yard tight end last year as a rookie. Horrible offense.
That's right. The Jaguars signed Evan Ingram. Do we care?
Nope.
The Chargers signed Gerald Everett.
The rest of the signings that the Jaguars had.
Oh.
It's just as good as the rest of the
It's just all garbage.
Yes.
Gerald Everett to the Chargers. What do we think?
I like that, actually. I like that. I think there's that could be a little bit of a sneaky move. One of those, the Chargers did a few nice things, and mostly on the defensive side, but they did a pretty good job this year of shoring up a team that I think is ready to contend with a really good young quarterback.
Yep. Well, the Giants lost Evan Ingram, so they panicked and got Ricky Seals-Jones. Nobody cares.
Even trade.
Yeah. The Titans signed tight end Austin Hooper to a 1-year deal. Sneaky good pick.
I actually really like that pick.
Yeah, they took advantage of Cleveland franchise tagging the wrong tight end and Njoku. And they let Hooper go, so Austin Hooper to the Titans. I think he can help that offense. I think the Titans' offense is a little bit more well-rounded now with weaponry. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, now you got AJ, now you got Bobby Trees, and now you got this tight end. I really like the Titans. I really like the Titans.
Good. You're from Tennessee, so you'll enjoy watching them.
I'm not from Tennessee. I live.
You live there. You live there. The Falcons. This is for you, Rice. The Falcons re-signed kicker Young-Hoo Koo. He must have found his shoe because he got 5 years, $24 million. He doesn't even need to find his shoe. Just buy a new one.
Good for that guy.
All right. Let's talk about some other things that, improved the teams here. Let's talk about the Bills. Of all the moves they've made offensively, they also signed Von Miller to a 6-year, $120 million deal. The Bills are loaded.
Bills we're winning a Super Bowl this year.
They are like, fuck it. We're going for it.
It's ours.
It's ours.
Yeah. All
right. Let's talk about the Bengals. The one thing that everyone complained about with the Bengals was the offensive line. And you saw it in the Super Bowl. You saw it. They almost lost the game in the AFC Championship. Sack after sack after sack. Well, now they have Cowboys tackle La'el Collins, Buccaneers guard Alex Kappa, and Patriots center Ted Karras, all to multi-year deals to shore up their offensive line. I think the Bengals hit a home run.
Bro, quietly one of the best off seasons of any team.
Very quietly.
Very quietly. Really good. They also kept a lot of their defenders, which they needed to keep. Franchise tag that really great safety. Just really smart moves by a Bengals team that is not usually doing smart things. They hit it out of the park as far as I'm concerned. And the top 2 teams in the AFC to me are the Bengals and the Bills. Those are your 2 top contenders. And then you have the whole contingency out in the West. But I think the AFC Championship game is Cincinnati versus Buffalo.
You know, you might not be wrong, Johnny.
Went to the Super Bowl last year without an offensive line.
Absolutely.
And all of the same weapons.
As long as they stay healthy. And Joe Mixon is going to have a big year, by the way.
Oh, he's running behind Lyle Collins. Oh,
yeah.
God. Oh, so much better. His life is going to be better.
But here's the other team that might want to dethrone the Bengals here. The Chargers. Not only did they make all those offensive moves, but they traded for Khalil Mack and they got Patriots star cornerback J.C. Jackson to bolster their defense. Look out for the Chargers, baby. Supercharge me.
Again, AFC West. Chiefs are last place. I can't pick against any of the other three. I can't pick against any of them. They're gonna hammer each other. They're all gonna be so beat up. They'll put two teams in the playoffs and they're gonna be so beat up they won't contend for a Super Bowl because they're just exhausted.
You could be right. No. All right, last thing I want to talk about, the Rams quietly grabbed Bobby Wagner. 2-year deal, $17.5 million to play linebacker, stolen from the Seahawks. This is the guy that replaces who they lost, Von Miller.
Yep.
Perfect replacement.
The only question still to me is, has Aaron Donald actually said, yes, for sure I'm playing?
You know, I don't think he's actually said yes for sure, but I think it's pretty obvious he's coming back.
Because he said, if we get the band back together, I'll come back. But Von Miller's playing across the country.
True, and Bobby Woods is gone.
But
he was probably talking about the defense more, wasn't he?
He was talking about the defense, yeah.
Yeah, but they have most of their guys back.
They got most of them back. And like you said, they got Robert Wagner also playing with a chip on his shoulder, also playing in the same division. Can't wait to play the Seahawks. I think Aaron Donald comes back, and I think the Rams are in contention again with the Buccaneers for this.
Especially in the NFC, it's basically the Rams, the Bucs, and the Niners. Those are your three contenders. The rest of them are pretenders. All the good teams are in the AFC now. I mean, we've gone over ad nauseum. It's the AFC's world. We're just a squirrel trying to get a nut.
Truth.
Johnny Ballgame. Thank you, brother. Another fantastic show. You brought the noise tonight. Did good, man. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Chuck. Always good show, man. Love doing this. Let's do it again in a couple weeks.
We'll be back.
And then Royce. Come on, man.
We're gonna get Royce. We're gonna get Keith on a show. We're gonna get Tony back. We're gonna get them all, man.
Let's do a 5-person panel. That's it.
If you enjoyed tonight's content, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Hit that notification bell, because in a few weeks when we do another show, you'll get notified so you can watch. Yay!
And then watch our algorithm.
Algorithm. Say it with me. Algorithm. All right, John. Thanks again. I'm the Fantasy Reaper. We'll see you in a couple weeks. And aloha.
Thank you for watching. Tune in next month for another episode on the island.